Welcome to another Cardano update. Like always, make sure to check out our YouTube memberships and our Patreon if you want access to all of our charts and if you want access to our daily Discord updates. And in this video, I actually want to talk about the long-term potential of Cardano, Ethereum and Bitcoin. And also I want to talk about the summer drop that I still think it's happening, and I still think that the altcoins will be at all-time highs by the end of May, at least some of them. And I think we are just waiting for something extremely big to happen. Now, before I talk about that, let me show you the monthly chart of the Cardano chart, because this is obviously extremely important. And why is it important? Because we have the same exact 1-2-1-2 setup as we did in the previous cycle. So this is another 1-2-1-2 setup, and I think right now we are just waiting for a move like this. And if we look at what caused a move like this to happen in the previous cycle, if we look at the monthly RSI, we actually used the moving average on the monthly RSI as support. We stayed above it, we never broke below it, and then we got a bounce. And what did we do right now? It's the exact same thing after getting a 1-2-1-2 setup on the RSI as well, just like this right here. By the way, 1-2-1-2. Of course, we don't really have enough data to say what happened before this. However, if you look at the RSI here, we also were below the RSI, just like we were exactly here, and then we got above it, we stayed above it, we tested it, and then we got this huge bounce. And in this cycle it's the exact same thing. We were below the RSI, below the moving average of the RSI, we got above it, we tested it, we stayed above it, and right now I think this is what's happening. Now, is my theory going to be correct? Well, I don't know, maybe not, maybe it will be correct. You're just gonna have to wait and see what happens, but I'm already seeing comments like these. Actually, let me show you a couple of comments. So I just cannot see Cardano being at previous all-time highs by the end of May. And I think these comments are honestly extremely stupid, because it's only the beginning of April and you cannot really say what will happen by the end of May. I mean, if you look at, for example, what Cardano was doing in October, nobody was expecting it to be at like $1.30 or so by the end of December, or actually by the beginning of December, but here we are. We went from like 30 cents to about $1.30 in less than like 1 month. So you can definitely not make these crazy predictions and say that Cardano will not be at all-time highs, just because when you look at the history of Cardano, I mean, it has always done stuff like this. And in a previous cycle, for example, we went up from 9 cents all the way to like $1.54 in a matter of 4 months. So please do not say that something like this is not possible, and please stop being so bearish. I mean, Cardano is still in an uptrend, and it's exactly right here at this point of the cycle, which means that we're still waiting for a cross on the bull market support band, and we are still waiting for it to bounce like it did right here in the previous cycle. So I don't really understand why people are bearish. They are probably bearish because in the previous cycle, exactly 4 years ago, Cardano was already at all-time highs up here. However, you have to keep in mind, in this cycle, Cardano did not go up on its own. In the previous cycle, when it was doing this right here, it was going up on its own pretty much. Not even Ethereum was going up when Cardano was doing this. So please keep that in mind. Cardano right now, it's doing something entirely different. However, the setup is the exact same. The 1-2-1-2 setup is the same as this 1-2-1-2 setup. So please just be patient and just wait for something to happen. Now, when is something going to happen? Well, I think very soon. Now, before I talk about the summer drop, I know why you are here. You want to hear about what I have to say about the summer drop. But first, we need to look at Bitcoin and see what's happening in the short term, so we can get an idea of what could happen in the long term. And if you look at the 4-hour chart on the Bitcoin chart, it is currently still below the 200-day moving average. We got rejected by the 200-day moving average and the bull market support band many times, and Bitcoin does not seem to, want to go down right now. I mean, of course, it still keeps getting rejected, but it keeps going up after that. It does not seem to want to go, lower than $76,000. Now, why could that be? Well, maybe it is because the low is already in. Now, maybe it's not. Maybe we'll get some kind of double bottom. However, if you look at what happened in this previous cycle so far, this right here is the third correction of the cycle, and the RSI went exactly where it went in these previous 2 lows right here. So each time we actually bottomed right here in the previous 2 lows, the RSI went to the exact same levels every single time, and right now we just tested these RSI levels again. Now also you have to keep in mind the first low was 25k, the second low was 50k, and this low right here was 76k. You could say it was 75k, which means that, from low to low to low, we always went up 25k, meaning that the next low could be 100k, and meaning that the low could already be in, just because we have the exact same structure as we had in the previous two, let's say years. So right now I am expecting Bitcoin to go up, and for those saying that it's not possible for it to go to new all-time highs by the end of May, you are wrong, because if you look at what Bitcoin did here after reacting to the RSI level of about 44 on the weekly RSI, we got a pretty significant pump. And if you look at this pump, I mean, from $52,000 we went up to about $80,000, well, even like $90,000 in a matter of 2 months, and this was a 71% pump. Right now, to get to new all-time highs from these lows right here, we would have to get well, actually, let's check this out. Let me see if I can move this. To get above the previous all-time highs, we would need a 45% pump, which leads me to believe that we're about to get something more than that, because I'm still expecting the summer drop to happen. And also keep in mind, the third wave right now, the main third wave, still needs a fifth wave move up to be completed, meaning that the structure is not complete, and meaning that this 1, 2, 3, 4 setup still needs a fifth wave move up, and that means that we cannot really, drop below support levels if we want to do that. Now, speaking of the support level, the support level is still between $69,000 and $91,000, and as you can see, we almost got to the 50% extension, so the low could be in. We did see a reaction to the support level. Of course, we did not touch it, but we did react to it, meaning that this could just be a fake out. And if you look at what Bitcoin did in the previous couple of times when we had a correction this cycle, after getting to the RSI level of about 44, as you can see, it kept going up and kept getting rejected by the bull market support band, and it got rejected by the bull market support band many times, and then at some point it finally broke above it, and then we had a cross on the bull market support band, and that gave us another huge pump. So it's definitely possible to get to all-time highs by the end of May. I don't really understand why people are so bearish. It's not like Bitcoin cannot go up. I mean, even if you look at the first correction right here, and for this I need to go on the weekly chart, if you look at what Bitcoin did after going down about 22% of this correction right here, and after getting to an RSI level of about 44, as you can see, we also had a pump, and this pump was about 50, let's say about 54% pump in the next 2 months. So please do not tell me that it's not possible for Bitcoin to be at all-time highs by the end of May, because it definitely is. And if we just follow what we did right here, I think it's very likely that Bitcoin will hit about $140,000 by the end of May. And if that happens, Cardano will most likely start going up, because if Bitcoin gets to all-time highs and if Bitcoin dominance finally starts breaking down, that will be the perfect time for Ethereum to finally wake up. And when Ethereum finally wakes up, it would also be the perfect time for Bitcoin dominance to start dropping and for the altcoins to wake up as well. And then we finally get the altcoin season that everybody has been expecting. Now, speaking of Ethereum, if you look at the weekly chart, as you can see, we are not oversold, and there's still a slight chance that Ethereum goes lower while Bitcoin does absolutely nothing, just so we can get to the oversold territory on the weekly chart. And I think that once we get to that level, we will get a huge bounce, because we did exactly that in the previous 2 times that it happened. And as you can see, Ethereum only got to the oversold territory on the weekly chart 2 times in its whole history, meaning that if we do this again, we could be looking at a very nice pump. So in the next couple of weeks, you could look at, Ethereum being at $1,400 in order to get to like the oversold territory on the RSI, and then it's still possible for it to turn around and be at like $5,000 by the end of May, if we actually do what we did in the previous cycle. Now, I want to talk about the summer drop, and I want to, show you what could happen in the summer and when we could get the summer drop. So for this, I need to go on the daily chart, and I need to talk about the Bitcoin chart, obviously. So if we look at the first summer drop started right here. So it started in April and it ended in July. And this drop, I believe, was an 80% drop. Now let's continue with the second summer drop, which was in 2017. It was somewhere around here. Here we go. So this drop happened in June. It started in June and it ended in July. So in the first cycle, it started in April and it ended in July. In the second cycle, it started in June and it ended in July. Now let's continue with the third cycle right here. In the third cycle, it started in April again and it ended, when do you think, in July. So So in every single cycle, the summer drop ended in July and it started in either April or June. Now if we zoom out on the monthly chart, in the first cycle it started dropping in April. In the second cycle it started dropping in June. In the third cycle it started dropping in April, which leads me to believe that in this cycle we could be looking at a June drop rather than, an April drop, because, well, right now obviously it's April, but I don't think we're gonna get a much bigger drop than this. However, it is likely that the summer drop has already started and maybe right now we just go down until the end of the summer, and if that happens this would be a left translated peak, so I don't think that's the case right now. So if we're actually, about to get a big drop in June, Bitcoin should still be at all-time highs by then, and then we could get the drop. Now, when exactly did the drop happen in the previous cycle? Well, actually not in the previous cycle, but in the 2013 cycle. Well, the drop actually started on... Also, sorry, I think I made a mistake. So the first cycle, it started in April. The second one, it started in June. So we need to look at the second cycle right here. When did we start dropping? We started dropping in the middle of June. So as you can see, we did not start dropping at the end of May. Now, you could say that this drop right here was a drop, and you would be correct because this was, after all, a 33% drop. However, after that we still went higher, so the real drop started in the middle of June, meaning that if we do this right now, we might still have time until the middle of June to, go higher, and then at the middle of June we start going down and we get to new, lows. Well, not bear market lows obviously, but we get some kind of low, maybe at 100k, to continue this pattern right here. And then at the end of the year we get to new all-time highs again, and Bitcoin still gets to $255,000 by the end of the year. That's my prediction, and that will remain my prediction. That has been my prediction for a very long time. This is Bitcoin we are talking about, so please do not forget that, and please do not forget that if you look at the monthly chart, Bitcoin is still in a huge uptrend, meaning that it will most likely go higher and higher. So please do not get fooled by the bearishness in the market, and please do not forget that Bitcoin is Bitcoin, and at the end of the day it only goes up in the long term. So even if we get some type of short-term correction, it's going to be fine. Now, looking at the Cardano chart, if we look at what happened in the previous summer drop, which by the way for Cardano started in May, so in the previous summer drop we actually went down about 63%. So please be careful. If we start a summer drop by, let's say, June 15th or so, and Cardano is not near all-time highs, let's say Cardano is at like $1.70, if we get a summer drop and we go down another 60% from, let's say, these highs right here, that would put Cardano back to 69 cents. So right now what we need to do, even if we actually don't get to $1.70, let's say we just stay in this region until the end of June. If we do, a 60% drop would put us at 36 cents, and that would still not invalidate the 1-2 setup that we have on the chart, meaning that even if we get, the worst case scenario right now, Cardano will most likely have a chance to bounce later in the year. So it's it's a win-win situation in my opinion, and I don't really understand why people are bearish right now. There's nothing to be bearish about. Even if Cardano drops another 60% from where we're at right now, like I said, the 1-2 setup here will still not be invalidated, so please stop being so bearish. Now obviously I'm not expecting Cardano to drop another 60%. I think it has already dropped enough, and like I said, we reacted to the monthly RSI right here, to the moving average of the monthly RSI, like we did in the previous cycle. So I think it's only a matter of time until the market wakes up and until we get some kind of huge move to the upside. But before we do that, we could be looking at another big drop, and then that could give us some type of bounce, and well, by the end of May or by the middle of June we should still start the summer drop and then go down a lot. So we'll see what Cardano does, we'll see what Bitcoin does, but I'm still bullish and everyone is bearish right now, meaning that you should probably start getting greedy, because these times are the perfect time to buy, not when Cardano is at like $1.30. For example, right here, when Cardano was at like $1.30, everybody was watching my videos and everybody was saying that, hey, you were right because Cardano is up right now. And then when we started going down, everybody stopped started calling me out. I mean, just look at these comments on Discord. There are like a bunch of them, and I just started posting them like a couple of days ago. There are a bunch of bearish comments here, and well, I used to get these comments when Cardano was down here at about 30 cents, and after Cardano did this right here, and after it went up 300% in a matter of 1 month, the comments stopped coming, the bearish comments stopped coming, and then when, you know, we got this move right here, they came back just like they did right here, and what do you know, after they came back right here, we got this huge bounce, and right now we just had a bunch of bearish comments on my previous video, meaning that we will most likely just get something like this very soon, just because Cardano usually goes up when everybody is least expecting it. Now of course right here I was expecting it, but nobody was really believing me, and right now I am expecting it again and nobody is believing me again, meaning that it will most likely happen. But again, that's not financial advice, and that's all I have for this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to check out our YouTube memberships and our Patreon if you want access to all of our charts, and if you want access to our daily Discord updates. Like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.